All right, so get ready because today we are going like deep, deep into this whole idea of building wealth.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is, but not in the way you might think. Like, we're not talking about, saving your pennies.
Right, dipping coupon.
Exactly. This is about fast wealth, and we are looking at the book The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this one.
Have you read it?
I have. It's pretty intense.
It's a lot to take in, and actually you guys, our listeners, sent us excerpts and wanted us to take a closer look, and I gotta say, it's definitely not your typical retire at 65 and then maybe enjoy life kind of plan.
No, no, it's like live now.
Yes. And the book actually starts with a story about the author as, like, a teenager seeing a Lamborghini Countach for the first time.
Oh, I remember that part.
Yeah, and it was like this huge moment for him, like a total aha moment, made him obsessed with figuring out how to be wealthy young, not just wait around for it.
Yeah, like why wait? Right.
Exactly. And that kind of sets the stage for the whole book. Like, why follow the traditional path, climb the corporate ladder, all that, when there might be faster ways to get where you want to be?
And he really goes after that traditional advice.
Oh, he does. He rips it apart.
Yeah, calls it like a losing game, especially in today's world, which I thought was interesting.
I know, right? It's like he's saying, why waste your best years working for someone else's dream when you could be building your own?
Right. Why wait to live your life?
Exactly. And he actually shares a lot about his own journey in the book, talks about feeling stuck in those dead-end
Yeah,
jobs.
where you're just trading hours for dollars.
Exactly, just grinding away. And then there's this turning point he describes, this crazy story about being a limo driver stuck in a blizzard in Chicago.
Oh yeah, brutal.
I know. And that's when everything clicked for him. Like, he realized he was on the wrong track, that there had to be a better way.
It's like that blizzard was a wake-up call, you
Yeah.
know, forced him to rethink everything.
Yeah. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Totally. And that's when he decided to shift his mindset, right? Instead of just working harder, he started focusing on building assets, things that could generate income even when he wasn't actively working.
That's the key, right? Passive income.
Yeah, making your money work for you.
So he ditches the slow lane and jumps into what he calls the fast lane, which is all about entrepreneurship, innovation, and creating your own path, basically.
But it's not about like those get-rich-quick schemes.
No, no, he's very clear about that.
Like he's talking about real businesses that solve real problems for people.
Exactly. And I think that's what sets it apart, right? It's not about taking shortcuts. It's about creating value, building something that makes a difference.
Yeah. And he even uses the term team producer, like you got to switch sides, stop being just a consumer and start being a producer.
So it's like taking control, right? Being the one who creates the game, not just plays it.
Exactly. It's a whole different way of thinking about wealth, and I think that's why it resonated with so many people.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the basic idea of the fast lane, right? But let's get real for a minute. I mean, isn't it kind of risky to go against the grain like that? Like, what if everyone else is right and the fast lane is just like a fantasy?
Well, that's the thing, right? It takes a certain amount of like courage to go against the herd
Oh,
mentality.
no, it's scary.
Yeah. But DeMarco argues that most people are unknowingly on what he calls team consumer, meaning they're trapped in this cycle of spending money, not making it.
So you're saying like most people are playing the wrong game.
Exactly. And he says you got to switch sides, join team producer if you want to build real wealth.
Interesting. So it's like a mindset shift almost.
Totally. And yeah, sure, starting a business can be risky, but so is putting all your faith in a retirement plan you can't control.
That's true. It's like choosing your own adventure, right? Either you follow the well-worn path everyone else is on, or you forge your own trail.
And to do that, you got to be okay with standing out from the crowd, taking risks, and maybe even failing sometimes.
Which leads us to probably one of the most interesting parts of the book, the 5 fast lane commandments.
Oh, yeah, he really lays down the law there.
He does, he does. And these are basically his principles for creating and running successful fast lane businesses.
The commandment of need, entry, control, scale, and time.
Yeah, and each one is like a filter, right? It helps you weed out the businesses that won't get you in the fast lane.
Exactly. And for me, the most crucial one, especially when you're just starting out, is the commandment of control.
Control, yeah, that's a big one.
Like DeMarco's all about owning your destiny, not being at the mercy of someone else's decisions.
So, like, be your own boss, basically.
More than that, be the one who builds the whole system, the machine, not just a cog in it.
Okay, so that makes sense, but how do you even begin? I mean, there's like a million different businesses out there. How do you narrow it down? How do you find the one that fits the fast lane model?
That's where those commandments come in, like a roadmap.
Okay, so give me an example.
Let's take the commandment of entry, for example. It basically says, look for a business where it's not super easy for anyone to just jump in and compete.
So, like something with barriers to entry.
Exactly. Maybe it requires specialized knowledge or a unique skill set or a hard-to-copy system. The harder it is for others to replicate what you're doing.
The more control you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the keys to building a sustainable fast lane business.
Okay, so you're looking for that sweet spot, right? A business that solves a real need, is scalable, and has some kind of barrier to entry.
Like finding a hidden treasure.
Yeah, it does. It does. But even if you like stumble upon this amazing idea, how do you deal with, all the doubts and the negativity that inevitably comes up? Like, what if people tell you you're crazy or it'll never work?
Oh, that's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, it's tough.
And DeMarco is really clear about this. Like, you have to build a support system, surround yourself with people who get it, who believe in the fast lane concept.
So, like, your own personal cheer squad.
Exactly. People who can help you stay motivated when things get tough, because it's going to get tough.
I mean, starting a business is hard, right?
Yeah.
So having that support is key.
Absolutely. And he even suggests finding a mentor, someone who's already walked the path you're on.
Someone who's been there, done that.
Exactly. Think of it like if you're trying to climb Mount Everest.
You don't do it alone.
Right. You need Sherpas, guides who know the terrain and can help you navigate the challenges.
That's such a good analogy. So you've got your idea, you're building your team, but then there's that other big hurdle, right? The fear of failure.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, starting a business is scary. What if you like invest all this time and money and then it just flops?
I think everyone feels that fear at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
But DeMarco's whole approach is it's not about eliminating fear. That's impossible. It's about reframing your relationship with failure.
Interesting.
Like he encourages you to see setbacks as learning experiences, not personal defeats.
So like fail fast and learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a big believer in taking calculated risks, the kind where the downside is limited, but the potential upside is huge.
So not just being reckless, but being strategic about it.
Exactly. It's about tilting the odds in your favor, not just hoping for the best.
Okay, so it's about mindset, it's about action, but there's always that nagging question, right? What about luck? Like, don't some people just get lucky?
That's the myth DeMarco wants to bust.
Yeah, he's very clear about that.
He basically says luck is often a byproduct of hard work and putting yourself out there, like the more you act.
The more opportunities you create.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself to those lucky breaks.
So it's not just sitting around waiting for something good to happen.
No, it's about actively creating those opportunities.
Okay, so that makes sense. But even with all the right strategies and the mindset, building a business takes serious hustle, right? I mean, there's just not enough time in the day.
That's where DeMarco has this really interesting perspective on time and how it relates to wealth.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So he argues that most people are stuck trading their time for money, right? Like you work a certain number of hours and you get paid for those hours.
The typical 9 to 5 grind.
Exactly. But in the fast lane, the goal is to build systems that generate income even when you're not actively working.
Okay. Yeah, that's the dream, right? Passive income.
Yeah. And that's where this concept of leverage comes in.
Leverage. Oh.
It's about leveraging your skills, your assets, and even other people's time to amplify your impact and your income.
So you're basically multiplying your efforts.
Exactly. You're not just limited by how much you can personally do in a day.
Okay, so you're building something bigger than yourself, something that can run even when you're not there.
Exactly. And he has this great quote. He says, your greatest asset is your earning ability, meaning you have the potential to create something valuable that continues to work for you long after you've put in the initial effort.
So like planting seeds that grow into income-generating trees.
Exactly. It's a long-term game, but the rewards can be massive.
Okay, so it sounds amazing, but let's be real. I mean, setting up a system like that takes time, right?
It does. There's no magic bullet. But that's where DeMarco's definition of wealth gets really interesting.
Okay, how so?
He says it's not just about money in the bank. It's about freedom and control over your time.
So like being able to do what you want when you want.
Exactly. He even talks about this concept of lifestyle servitude, where you're basically working to pay for a lifestyle you can't actually afford.
So even if you're making good money, you can still feel trapped.
Exactly. It's like you're on a treadmill running faster but not getting anywhere.
So for DeMarco, true wealth means having the freedom to choose how you spend your time, not just having a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that feels meaningful, not just one that looks successful from the outside.
It's like he's saying, don't let your possessions own you, own your time.
Powerful stuff.
It really is. It really is. And I think that's a fantastic place to wrap up part one of our Deep Dive.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. But there's so much more to explore. So stay tuned for part two, where we'll dig deeper into the specific strategies and mindset shifts that DeMarco outlines in The Millionaire Fastlane.
Okay, so we've talked about the fast lane being this whole different way of thinking about wealth. Yeah. But how do you actually put it into practice? Where do you even start?
Yeah, is there a step-by-step guide or something?
Well, DeMarco does give you some pretty concrete examples of fast lane business models, like things you can actually explore.
Oh, that's helpful. I like that he gets specific.
Yeah, he talks about things like subscription services.
Okay, like Netflix or Spotify.
Exactly. Or e-commerce platforms, selling stuff online.
Right, like setting up shop on Amazon or Etsy.
Exactly. He even mentions content creation, like building a YouTube channel or a podcast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the idea is to create something that delivers value on a recurring basis.
Okay, so it's not just about one-off sales or projects.
Right. It's about building a system that can generate income over time.
Okay, so you're creating an asset that keeps working for you.
Exactly. But he's also clear that just because a business model exists doesn't mean it's automatically a fast lane winner.
Right. You still have to apply those 5 commandments we talked about.
Exactly.
Right.
And it has to be something you're actually passionate about.
Yeah. Who wants to build a business they hate?
Right. Even if it makes money.
Exactly. Life's too short for that.
And DeMarco actually talks about this a lot, like finding your passion.
Okay, so how does he define passion?
Well, he says it's not necessarily about this magical calling or some grand purpose.
Right. It's not always a lightning bolt moment.
Exactly. He says it's more about identifying your strengths, your interests, what are you naturally good at?
Okay, so what do you enjoy doing?
Exactly. What problems do you enjoy solving? What kind of work energizes you?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's about finding that intersection of what you're good at and what you enjoy.
And what the world needs. That's the key.
Okay, so you've got the passion, you've got the right business model. Now you got to launch it, right? I mean, how do you actually get started? DeMarco gives some pretty specific advice, doesn't he?
Yeah, he breaks it down into actionable steps.
Oh, okay. Give me an example.
Well, first off, he's a big believer in market research. Don't just assume people want what you want.
Right. Got to test your ideas.
Exactly. He also talks about crafting a solid business plan, outlining your goals, your strategies, your financials.
Okay. Yeah, that's important.
He also talks about securing funding, if you need it, of course.
Right. Some businesses require more capital than others.
Exactly. And then there's the whole online presence, building a website that actually converts visitors into customers.
So it's like creating a digital storefront.
Exactly. And he has some really interesting insights on marketing, he's not a big fan of traditional advertising.
Really?
He calls it advertising slavery, you're constantly paying for ads to get people's attention.
And that can get expensive.
It can. And he argues that there are more effective ways to build a brand.
Okay, so what does he suggest?
He's all about creating a brand that people genuinely connect with, building a community, a tribe.
So it's less about shouting your message at people.
Right, and more about creating something they want to be a part of.
So how do you do that?
He talks about the importance of a killer, unique selling proposition, or USP, what makes your business different and better than the competition.
Right, what sets you apart.
Exactly. He also talks about building a story around your brand, something that resonates with your target audience on an emotional level.
So you're not just selling a product or a service, you're selling an experience.
Yeah, and an idea of a feeling.
Okay, so that's the marketing side. But what about the nuts and bolts of running a business, like managing finances, dealing with employees, all that stuff?
He definitely doesn't shy away from the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, that's important.
He's a big advocate for tracking your numbers, knowing where your money is going.
Right. Got to stay on top of the financials.
Exactly. And constantly analyzing what's working and what's not. And he encourages people to become savvy investors, understanding how to make their money work for them.
Okay, so he's not just about making money, it's also about managing it wisely.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the people side of things, like managing employees? That can be tricky, right?
It can be, but DeMarco has some great insights on this too. He's big on finding the right people, not just people who are skilled, but also people who are aligned with your vision.
So it's about finding people who believe in what you're doing.
Exactly. People who are excited to be a part of the journey.
And he actually compares building a team to like a platoon going to war.
Yeah, he says you need people you can trust to have your back.
That's a powerful image.
It is. And he's also super clear about the importance of treating your employees well, creating a positive work environment where people feel valued and motivated.
So it's not just about what they can do for you, it's about creating a win-win situation.
Exactly. He believes that happy employees lead to a successful business.
Okay, so that's like the team aspect, but he also talks a lot about scaling a business, right? Like making it bigger and bigger.
Yeah, he's all about growth.
But isn't there a risk of losing that personal touch as you grow? Becoming too corporate and impersonal?
That's a great point, and this is where DeMarco's emphasis on systems comes in.
Systems, okay.
He encourages building processes that can be replicated and improved upon as you grow, like creating a recipe that anyone can follow to produce the same quality product or service.
So it's about creating a system that can run smoothly even without your constant supervision.
Exactly. That way you can maintain consistency and quality even as you expand.
So it's like building a machine that can operate efficiently at scale.
Exactly. And that's one of the keys to achieving that fast-lane growth.
God, that makes sense. But what happens when you like hit a roadblock? Everyone faces challenges in business, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
DeMarco doesn't sugarcoat it. He's very real about the fact that building a business is hard work.
Yeah, there are going to be ups and downs.
Exactly. He talks about dealing with setbacks, facing criticism, and even battling those inner demons of doubt and fear.
Yeah, those inner critics can be tough.
They can be, but he provides a framework for turning those headwinds into tailwinds.
Okay, so it's about reframing those challenges, seeing them as opportunities for growth.
Exactly. It's about developing resilience, that ability to bounce back from setbacks.
But how do you stay motivated when you feel like giving up, when it all just feels too hard?
This is where the power of vision comes in, and DeMarco is really big on this. Having a clear picture of what you're building, why you're building it, where you want to go.
So it's like having that North Star to guide you.
Exactly. He encourages you to create a vision board, write down your goals, and constantly remind yourself of what you're working towards.
So it's about keeping your eye on the prize, even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's about remembering why you started in the first place.
Okay, that's powerful, but what about time management? I mean, there are only so many hours in the day, and building a business can feel like it consumes your entire life.
That's true, and DeMarco is pretty ruthless about time management.
Oh, really? How so?
He calls out all the biggest time wasters, things like mindless TV,
Oh, okay, yeah.
guilty
Right.
scrolling social media, getting caught up in other people's drama.
Yeah, those can be real time sucks.
They are, and he argues that every minute you spend on those things is a minute you could be investing in your fast-lane business.
Or in activities that bring you closer to your goals.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with your time, making sure you're spending it on things that matter.
So how do you actually do that? I mean, it's easy to say prioritize your time, but it's harder to actually do it.
He gives some practical strategies like prioritize your tasks. Not everything is equally important.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Set clear deadlines and hold yourself accountable.
Right, got to have that discipline.
This is a big one. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your goals.
So it's about setting boundaries.
Exactly. And also, master the art of delegation.
Don't try to do everything yourself.
Right. Learn to trust other people and leverage their skills to get things done.
Okay, so it's about building a team, it's about time management, it's about mindset, but there's this other aspect of wealth that I think is really important, and that's like the personal side of it. How do you handle success without letting it change you for the worse?
Yeah, that's a great question, and DeMarco actually acknowledges this. He says, wealth can amplify who you already are.
Interesting.
Like if you're generous, you'll likely become even more generous.
Okay, but what if you have like bad habits or insecurities?
Well, no, those can get magnified too. That's why he emphasizes the importance of developing a solid character before you hit the fast lane.
So it's not just about making money, it's about becoming the kind of person who can handle wealth responsibly.
Exactly. It's about personal growth alongside financial growth.
Okay, so it's about like aligning your inner world with your outer world.
Yeah, and he has this great line. He says, money doesn't change you, it reveals you.
Ooh, that's good.
It's powerful, right? Like it forces you to confront who you really are.
Okay, but what about the whole money can't buy happiness thing? Does DeMarco agree with that?
He actually reframes it. He says, money can't buy happiness directly, but it can buy freedom and options. which can lead to a more fulfilling life.
Okay, so it's about what the money allows you to do.
Exactly. He talks about the ability to pursue your passions, to spend time with loved ones, to travel, to contribute to causes you care about. Those are the things that truly bring joy and meaning.
So it's not about the stuff, it's about the experiences and the impact you can make.
Exactly. And that's a much more empowering way to think about wealth, I think.
I agree. But speaking of impact, DeMarco is really big on giving back, right?
Oh, absolutely. He encourages people to think about their legacy, like what they want to leave behind.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth, it's also about using it for good.
Exactly. He's a big advocate for philanthropy, supporting causes you believe in, and using your success to help others.
Okay, so it's about making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and leaving a positive mark.
I like that, but there's one thing I'm still a little fuzzy on. He talks about this concept called the wealth acceleration factor, or WAF.
Oh, yeah, that one can be a bit abstract.
Yeah, it kind of went over my head.
Think of it like this. Imagine you have two businesses, both profitable. One is a local bakery. The other is a software company selling a subscription service.
Okay, I'm following.
The software company likely has a higher WAF because it can reach millions of customers online with minimal extra effort.
Right, the bakery is limited by its physical location.
Exactly. And by how many loaves they can bake each day. So DeMarco is saying you need to look for businesses or investments that can scale rapidly without being limited by your time or resources.
So it's about finding those opportunities where your impact and your income can multiply exponentially, not just incrementally.
Exactly. It's about leverage. Again,
Okay, so it all comes back to leverage. But before we wrap up part two, I want to go back to something you said earlier about dealing with negativity and doubt. You know, those inner critics we all have.
oh yeah, those can be tough.
Do you have any tips for how to handle them? You know, when they start telling you you're not good enough or your dreams are too big?
DeMarco talks about this a lot, like becoming aware of those negative thoughts and challenging them, asking yourself, are they based on facts or just fear?
So, like, questioning those limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And he also encourages you to reframe your self-talk. Like instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I'm learning how to do this.
So it's about shifting your perspective, focusing on growth and possibility.
Exactly. It's about replacing self-doubt with self-belief.
And I think that's a perfect place to end part two, but there's so much more to explore, so stay tuned for part three, where we'll dive into some of the more nuanced aspects of DeMarco's philosophy and leave you with some actionable takeaways to apply on your own journey. Okay, so we are back and we are ready to finish strong with this deep dive into the Millionaire Fastlane.
Yeah, we've talked about ditching the slow lane, finding the right business model, all that good stuff.
We even talked about facing those inner critics.
Those pesky doubts.
Exactly, but there's this whole other layer to DeMarco's thinking that I want to unpack a bit more.
Oh, what's that?
The whole personal responsibility thing, he's really big on that, isn't he?
Oh, huge.
Hmm.
DeMarco is all about taking ownership. No excuses.
Yeah, stop blaming everyone else for your situation.
Exactly. He even uses this analogy like driving your own bus, you're in control.
Instead of being a passenger on someone else's route.
Yeah, and I love that analogy. It's so powerful. Like, you're not just along for the ride, you're the one choosing the destination.
So it's about taking control of the wheel, basically.
Exactly. And making conscious choices, even when things get tough.
But how do you do that when it feels like there are so many external factors at play, the economy, the job market, all that stuff?
DeMarco argues that while those external forces exist, you always have a choice in how you respond to them.
Okay, so it's not about ignoring those factors, it's about choosing how you react to them.
Exactly. You can either be reactive, letting those forces control you, or you can be proactive, making choices that empower you.
So it's about focusing on what you can control, not what you can't.
Right. And that can be a really empowering shift in mindset.
But that brings up something else that I think holds a lot of people back. The fear of making the wrong choice. What if you pick the wrong business idea or make a bad investment?
DeMarco is pretty straightforward about this. He says, you will make mistakes. It's inevitable.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
Exactly. But he says the real failure is not learning from those mistakes.
Okay, so it's about embracing failure as a feedback mechanism, a way to learn and grow.
Exactly. He even says failure is not the enemy, it's the teacher.
So it's about shifting your perspective from I messed up to what can I learn from this?
Yeah, and that takes a certain level of mental toughness, I think.
Yeah, not everyone's comfortable with taking risks and maybe failing.
That's true. But DeMarco is a big believer in mindset. Like he says, your beliefs about yourself and about money can either support or sabotage your success.
Okay, so it's not just about the external stuff. It's also about what's going on inside your head.
Exactly. And he even talks about this idea of developing what he calls a wealth consciousness.
A wealth consciousness. Okay, what does that mean?
It's basically a belief that you are capable of creating wealth, that abundance is possible for you.
So it's about believing in yourself, believing in your ability to achieve your goals.
Exactly. And that's a really powerful shift because when you believe it's possible, you start to act in ways that make it more likely to happen.
Okay, so it's about aligning your beliefs with your actions. And I think that's a key takeaway from the Millionaire Fastlane. But let's get practical for a minute. What about the people who are feeling overwhelmed, like there's so much to learn, so much to do? Where do they even begin?
That's a common feeling for sure, especially when you're first starting out.
Hmm.
But DeMarco has a really simple but powerful concept. Break it down into smaller steps.
Okay, so don't try to do everything at once.
Exactly. Focus on making progress, even if it's just a little bit each day. And he has this great quote. He says, unsuccessful people make big plans. Successful people take small actions.
So it's about taking consistent action, even if those actions seem small or insignificant at first.
Right. It's about building momentum, creating a habit of success.
But what about the people who've been stuck in the slow lane for a long time? Is it ever too late to make a change, to jump into the fast lane?
DeMarco is very clear about this. He says it's never too late.
Okay, I love that there's always hope.
Exactly. And he believes that anyone, regardless of their age, background, or current financial situation, can create a better future for themselves.
So it's about making a decision, a commitment to change your mindset and your actions.
Yeah. And he has another great line. He says, if you're not happy with where you are, change it. You're not a tree.
It's like he's giving you permission to hit the reset button and start fresh.
Exactly. And I think that's really empowering because sometimes we feel stuck, like we don't have any choices. But DeMarco reminds us that we always have a choice.
Yeah, it's about taking responsibility for your life and creating the future you want. But I know a lot of people who hear this kind of advice and think, well, that's easy for him to say. He's already successful. How would you respond to that?
Well, DeMarco is very open about the fact that he didn't come from wealth or privilege. He built his success from the ground up.
So he's not just some like trust fund kid who's never had to work hard.
Exactly. He started with nothing, and he used the principles he outlines in the book to achieve his goals.
So it's not about luck. It's about hard work and smart strategies and the right mindset.
Exactly. And he shares tons of stories of other people who've done the same, proving that it's possible for anyone who's willing to put in the effort.
So he's walking the talk, basically.
Exactly. And showing you that it can be done.
But let's be real, building wealth, starting a business, it can be stressful, right? There are long hours, financial risks. How does DeMarco address the whole work-life balance thing?
He actually talks about this a lot. He's a big advocate for self-care.
Really? Okay, that's good to hear.
He talks about the importance of taking breaks, recharging your batteries, and prioritizing your physical and mental health.
So it's not about burning yourself out.
No, it's about finding that sustainable pace, that balance between hustling towards your goals and taking care of yourself along the way.
And he actually says, work on your business, but don't neglect your life.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that you love, a life that feels fulfilling and meaningful.
So it's not just about the destination, it's about enjoying the journey as well. But what about the people who say money can't buy happiness? Does DeMarco agree with that?
He has a really nuanced perspective on that. He says money itself doesn't buy happiness, but it can buy freedom and options, which can lead to a more fulfilling life.
Okay, so it's not about the money itself, it's about what the money allows you to do.
Exactly. He talks about the ability to pursue your passions, to spend time with loved ones, to travel, to contribute to causes you care about.
Yeah, those are the things that truly bring joy and meaning.
Exactly. And money can give you the freedom to pursue those things.
So it's about aligning your financial goals with your values and your vision for your life. But speaking of money, one of the things DeMarco really emphasizes is the importance of managing it wisely, right? Like it's not just about earning money, it's also about what you do with it.
Yeah, he's big on financial literacy, like understanding how money works.
Okay, so what are some of his key tips for managing money effectively?
Well, he's a big advocate for tracking your income and expenses, creating a budget.
So like knowing where your money is going.
Exactly. And living below your means. He also talks about the importance of paying off debt as quickly as possible, especially high-interest debt.
So you're not just throwing money away on interest payments.
Exactly. And then he's a big believer in investing, but he also cautions against chasing those get-rich-quick schemes.
So it's about being smart and strategic with your money.
Right, it's about playing the long game, building wealth sustainably.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's one thing I wanted to touch on that I think is really important. DeMarco talks a lot about building businesses, investing, all that. But what about relationships? Like, what role do they play in all of this?
He definitely addresses that. He talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people.
So, like, your tribe, your community.
Exactly. People who believe in your vision, who challenge you to grow. And he's equally clear about the need to distance yourself from negative influences, the people who drain your energy.
So it's about creating a circle of support, people who lift you up and inspire you.
Exactly. And I think that ties into another thing he emphasizes, gratitude.
Gratitude, yeah, that's a big one.
He's a huge advocate for practicing gratitude. He even suggests keeping a gratitude journal, writing down all the things you're thankful for.
So it's about focusing on what you have instead of what you lack.
Exactly. And he says that shifting your focus to gratitude can actually attract more abundance into your life.
It's like that saying, what you appreciate appreciates.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful message to end on, like focusing on the positive, appreciating what you have, and using your success to make a difference in the world.
Well said, well said. The Millionaire Fastlane is definitely a thought-provoking book. It challenges you to think differently about wealth, about success, and about life.
It definitely pushes you outside of your comfort zone.
It does, but in a good way. Like, it inspires you to take control of your destiny and create the life you truly desire.
And to remember that it's not just about the money. It's about the freedom, the impact, the experiences you can create.
So, for our listeners, as you continue on your own wealth-building journey, remember the fast lane isn't just a road to financial success, it's a road to self-discovery and a life lived on your own terms.
And remember, it's never too late to start building your own fast lane.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep taking action. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Millionaire Fast Lane.